This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome, everyone. This is NOHVCC's latest in a series of webinars we've been doing. We've been quite happy with the turnout, and we've had a lot of people participate in several of these, so we're excited, and hopefully we're delivering great information. We've had some guests that I think have done an outstanding job, and I know we have one tonight who will do an outstanding job as well. First, I'd like to just go over how our webinars tend to work. Typically, what we'll do is when you call in, you'll be placed on mute. We ask that you stay on mute. If you have any questions that come up during the webinar, during the presentation part of the webinar, please use the chat feature. There's a box, and on my screen, it's on the right-hand side, and right under attendees, it says chat. And then there's a space where you can type a question or a comment to everyone and hit send. If you do that, Laura and myself will be monitoring those for any questions you might have. Typically, 90% of the time or more, the questions will be saved till the end of the presentation. And then at that point, we'll go through and make sure we get all the questions answered to the best of our ability. James will probably have most of the answers. If not, I'm sure he or, NOHVCC staff will be able to get back to you with some responses. With that, it's with great pleasure that I get the opportunity to introduce James Freeman. As you can see on your screen, he's the principal with Trailhead Consultants and the co-founder of ridetrails.org. If you've been to our conference in the last few years, you probably met him. He is somebody who is very much a great friend of NOHVCC. Most of us on staff treat him like he is part of NOHVCC staff. He does a tremendous amount of work for us. He and his team are the principals behind the new NOHVCC website, all the back-end registration for events, and really has been responsible for our increased communication and getting us on the right track there. So he's done a tremendous amount to help not only our web presence, but NOHVCC as an organization. And he's gracious enough to share time with everyone tonight and give everybody a start to some ideas about how web presence can be improved for OHV clubs and associations. And without much further ado, I'd just like to say James is a personal friend to all of us, and he does a really great job, and we're excited to have him. So with that, James, if you're ready, you can just go ahead and take over.
Great, thank you, Dwayne. I appreciate it, and appreciate being invited to speak with folks. If you have, I'm looking at the list of folks here tonight. I know some of you, and some of you have probably seen a little bit of this content at the conferences, but I'm hoping tonight to present a few new things and new thoughts on web marketing. And I will just jump right into it. Where are my slides again? There we go. All right. So we're going to talk about three things, and this was covered in the description of this. So we're going to spend most of our time talking about developing a marketing strategy, how to right-size your web presence, and I want to go over some tips for managing your online activities, because a lot of people find the whole marketing online to be a little bit daunting and overwhelming for a variety of reasons. But I think if what we're going to talk about today is that if you put a little bit of thought and planning into it and follow a few tips and tricks and simple rules, it can become much less daunting and much less time consuming. But first, before we get started, I just wanted to talk about what I'm going to talk about today. And that this might be a little bit different than some of the other NOHVCC webinars that you may have attended. We're not going to talk about how to write a grant or how to flag a trail or anything like that. We're going to this is more me imparting some tips and considerations for you. You're not going to find any silver bullets here for how to recruit 1,000 people to join your club or association. What we're going to be talking about today is an investment, and building a strategy is an investment that your organization needs to purposefully invest in, and that takes time, thought, and energy by your membership and your leadership. Everybody's going to be different. We're all over geographically. We have different local issues. We have different membership types. Really my goal here is to give you all a few pearls of wisdom that you can take back to your organization and start building upon a more firm marketing strategy. And I have to say that when you are going through this, I'll probably repeat this a few times, when building a marketing strategy and talking with your organization about improving your marketing by using web tools, write it down. Don't do these, don't engage in activities like this in a haphazard way, because, and this is just kind of a word from experience, that if we don't like write it down and make a commitment to make changes in our organization, a lot of times they don't happen. And two, if they're all in your head or in your board's head, rather than making it available, making your ideas and strategy available to all your membership, or at least the leadership of your membership, it becomes, you run the risk of losing that knowledge and losing focus on your direction for your improvement. So if you're going to build a strategy, make it a written strategy. So let's talk about, I presented this question in the description for this. So does our organization need to be online? So just to give you some facts about online usage, in the US, 89% of adults use the internet, 77% of adults go online daily, 26% of adults say they're online almost constantly, and that is even higher percentage for 18 to 29-year-olds, which I know is a target demographic for a lot of organizations. 75% of us are accessing the internet through a mobile device, and platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they're very popular, and they're very popular amongst all demographics. So it's a foregone conclusion that we absolutely need to be online. But I would say, yes, it needs to be, we're probably going to be online, but not necessarily. Yes, this presentation is about web marketing, but also consider that there's a reason that, direct mail still comes in your mailbox. There's a reason the Elks Lodge has a bulletin board. There's a reason your grocery store has flyers in the window. So web marketing is part of what we really need is to understand our goals and our challenges to meeting those goals, to develop a strategy to address those goals and challenges. So saying that we have to be online is a little premature. We need to do some inward introspection to determine what our needs are, what problems we're having, and then determine the proper course of action for how we're going to address those. Because maybe being online and having a big website going and stuff is overkill for what you actually need and want to do. Maybe that's not where your audience is. Maybe your audience is folks at the grocery store or county fairs or in City Hall or whatever it is. But so we're going to talk about how to analyze our goals, or get to these goals, and develop a strategy to address those goals. Let's talk about developing a marketing strategy. And I'm gonna go along here, and I'm okay if people have questions to stop and answer those and clarify things. So if I'm going too fast, or if you want me to repeat something or clarify something that I'm discussing, I'm going to try to monitor the chat as we go along. So feel free to chime in there. So core to developing a marketing strategy is developing what we call a value proposition. So what is your organization's value proposition? And so that just begs the question, what's a value proposition? So value is defined as the important worth or usefulness of something. So basically, your value proposition is the reason somebody wants to join your club or association. People want to get something in return from their associations with anybody. I mean, we're humans, right? So we don't invest our time and our energy into things we don't think have value for us personally. So your organization needs to have a clear value proposition. And value propositions aren't necessarily a huge essay on why we exist or what we do or the catalog of things we've done in the past. Value propositions are short. They need to be easy to remember, and they need to be concise. So like if you were developing a mission statement, you need to carefully consider all of the words that go into it. And the value proposition needs to be something that your members can convey to other people in the community, because your members are going to be the number one people to to share that value proposition with folks. And, coming up with a drawn out mission statement isn't necessarily something that people are going to be able to remember in your job. You might consider it an elevator speech. It's like, so what's your job? What do you do? And so you have to be ready with the short answer to what you do, because you might not get another chance to impart that information upon whoever you run into. So the rule I give people for when we're developing value propositions is that we want to try to keep it to 3 statements that are no more than 2 sentences each. And I'll give you an example. And this is an exercise I go through with clients when we're consulting on marketing. We want to try to boil down the essence of our organization so that we can communicate that clearly to others. So to give an example of value proposition, this is one that I have kind of drawn upon my experience with clubs and associations to kind of come up with a straw man value proposition, a generic one that could probably be for any of your clubs out there. So the first one, our value proposition is community. Riding responsibly means being part of a community of riders. Our club promotes social, family-oriented riding that's positive to the local economy. Riding. Red River Riders, that's my made-up name for a club, is a club for riders of all riding levels. We organize safety courses, group rides, riding events to promote riding in our area. Service. Our club organizes service days to help maintain trails. Our members also engage with local government and apply for grant funding to support local trail work. So you can see how and we wouldn't bullet this out. We would probably on our website or our Facebook page, we'd probably have these wouldn't all be bulleted. It'd just be community, riding, service, and then the 2 sentences right up next to each other. I bulleted them for ease of reading. You can see that there's kind of a cadence to a value proposition. We want to, under community, for example, we say we value community. What does community mean to us? Well, how do we define that value? And then we give some examples of activities that help support that value. So community means riding as a part of a larger community of riders. And then what do? We promote social, family-oriented riding that also has an impact on the economy. So here, the 3 words, community, riding, and service, you can kind of, it's almost slogany at this point. It's easy for people to communicate and for others to remember. If they aren't going to remember anything else about your club or your association, you want them to remember these high-level things. And then simple messages with active terms. We want to be telling people what the club does or what the association does. So we need to be using terms that are active verbs. So we organize, we engage, we promote, we raise money so that people understand that we're not just spouting off ideas. We actually do things, and that they can internalize that without a lot of thought on their part. Once you develop a value proposition, and it's an exercise that you go through that can take some time. You might spend an evening sitting around with your board doing this. You might sit down and do it over a couple sessions, or you have a few lunches just to kind of refine this, because you want to boil this down to the essence of your club. But once you go through this, you've got yourself a tool that then you can tier other activities to. So your value proposition really becomes the core part of your marketing strategy. From the value proposition, we can start setting goals for our club, and then picking tactics to meet those goals. And having something like this that is well laid out, in addition to allowing you to, come up with goals, it also helps you define your club's activities and what you don't do. So the value proposition is what you want your organization to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be what your organization does today, but it can be something that you aspire to. Then through that, you can create goals to support your value proposition. So if a community-based goal would be like, we want to have a community of 100 riders. We want to hold 30 rides a year. In our service component, we want to raise a certain number of dollars every year. But what it helps us do is keep things that aren't important to our club out of scope. So if, doing big camp out motocross type events isn't what we do, we wouldn't include that in goals of riding. And while somebody may join the club and say, hey, we should really go do we should start a race series, and you may get some enthusiasm about something like that, you can always go back to your value proposition and your goals that you've set up to support that value proposition, to say, it's like, not to poo-poo on it, but to say, we want to keep focused on where we're going and what we're trying to do. And maybe you want to revisit your value proposition if enough people are interested in one type of activity that is kind of outside the scope of what your organization does. And you'll want to do that from time to time. Your value proposition and your marketing strategy will be a living document that will evolve over time. So once you have your value proposition and goals that kind of tier to that, then you need to start thinking about who your intended audience is, because obviously your current members are going to be the ones that are going to be developing value proposition and goals. Then we need to think about who we need to convey this information to. And then and only then really can we even decide what activities that we want to be doing. So our intended audience, we need to be considering, one, where are they? And I'll get into that a little bit more in a second. But in addition to who they are. So, for example, if our intended audience is we want to more actively engage government officials on something, maybe our marketing activities aren't going to be, maybe they're not even going to be online. Maybe they're not going to be, putting up 100 Facebook posts, or, really having a kick-ass Instagram account. If that's not where our government officials are. If they are participating on Facebook, maybe we do want to beef up our Facebook presence and actually, engage with them through that medium. We need to know if we're trying to recruit 100 people this year to join our club, we need to know what those people are doing and what's important to them. So if we know that there's a group of riders that are out there that haven't engaged with the club, we need to be going to them rather than expecting them to come to us. So we need to plan our activities not only to be online and engaging those people where they like online, but we need to also be considering maybe we should be going out to meet people at trailheads. Maybe we should be trying to advertise online. Maybe we should be buying Facebook ads. Maybe we should be using Google ads to improve our marketing. So, and as I've been kind of discussing around, your activities are going to be based on your goal and your audience. If you come up with a fully fleshed out marketing strategy, you're going to have different activities for each area in which is important to your club. So, community riding and service, we may have entirely different activities for all of those. It's just about finding the right combination of marketing activities that you think will help you meet your goals and are within the scope of what is actually attainable for you. And going through this exercise actually will help you avoid low-value time-wasting activities. If you might have somebody in your club or in your association that's really, really excited about being on Instagram and says we're gonna show people what we're doing. We're gonna be out there on Instagram. That may be fine, but if it doesn't meet a goal or it isn't reaching an audience that you want to reach, it's generally, it could be seen as wasted time. Now you don't want to get down on somebody's enthusiasm for sure, for helping your club out and helping them grow. But if you've gone through this exercise and you know that the audience you want to reach isn't there, if they're not there, then you can try to divert that enthusiastic person towards activities that you know are more in line with the goals of your club. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was right-sizing a web presence. And again, just like in the first one, it begs the question, what do you mean right size? Basically, and I've mentioned this a couple times, you don't have to use everything out there. So many folks we talk to, they feel compelled to be posting on Facebook every day, running a website that has a calendar and has membership management and has a store and having an Instagram account and having a listserv and having a forum. It's like, really, why? Because somebody has to manage everything that you do. It's not, if you have all these things that are just kind of going because, oh wow, there's this cool new tool out there, we should get on that. Eventually you end up with all this stuff that's, kind of, for lack of a better term, it's half-cocked and not well executed and just kind of looks bad if you're not investing the right amount of time into it. So don't try every new thing that comes along. There will be new things that come along that will be valuable, but you shouldn't feel compelled to pick it up and be an early adopter of it. And thinking the strategy should again tell you where your audience is, suggest to you what tools you should use and not use, help you determine what types of content you need. So are we writing blog posts? And by content, I mean blog posts, videos, live streams, photos, flyers, mailers, email blasts. What do you need? And then also how frequently you need to manage and update your content. That's another thing I'm going to talk a bit on later too. So how do we select tools for our club? And I'm going to speak specifically to web tools and not to email also, because I assume we all know how to use email marketing and how to create a flyer or post something up at the Elks Lodge. So really, I really think that how many tools you select comes down to the size of your audience, more than anything else. So if you've got an organization that's small, that's manageable, it's kind of like your group of friends. You could probably keep them on a text message chain, but you call yourself a club. You take dues, you hold an event or two a year just to kind of show that you're doing stuff and organize and help out the community. That's really when you on the web, you can use tools that are out of the box. You can use Facebook and Instagram and Twitter to put basic information out into the world. It gives you everything that you need about photos and video and live stream. You can post that you're having events on Facebook. You probably wouldn't have a website then unless you were looking to grow that club. And really, it comes down to overhead here. Like, all these things are free. They are readily used by people out in the world, and they're easy to use because we all know how to use them, or they're easy to learn to use also if we're not already using them. But we lose things like customization. We're given what we got and we can't do anything about it. We're given the capabilities that Facebook provides us, and we don't have anything else. Also, if people are looking for you, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the social channels, they're harder to find specific people or organizations. And a new member would have to know you exist. Whereas on the web, you would be able to search by keyword rather than needing to know the specific name of a club or an account. Then as our organizations start to grow, we have, I said capping out around 50 members. Then we're going to have a website that starts providing more functionality. The website, like I said, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you have no control over the format of those. Your website, you start taking control of the format of the content, and you get to have more content. So it's easier to curate photos rather than just kind of dumping them all in a stream or a feed. You can integrate your social tools into the website. You can add capabilities that help you manage your membership. You can add like event registration and ticketing in basic ways. And you can even use the platform to start making your organization a little bit of money. You can sell ads on it. You could use tools like Google AdSense to try to generate a little bit of revenue based on your traffic. Whereas your your social platforms, they won't allow you to manage members or beyond the people that join your group. You can't collect address information on them or anything, and you can't sell ads or tickets or anything like that on your social feeds without integrating through another service anyway. So through a website, once you start to grow, you're going to start finding the need for additional capabilities, where a website is you want to start working into your web capability. But with having a website comes more effort. And that's why I say that, it kind of comes down to the size of the organization, because you're going to find you have more needs, but you also get more return on investment. So you're saying, it's like we have 50 people. It's hard to keep track of who has paid their dues and everybody's address and everybody's phone number. It would be great if we could just do it through the website and people could manage their own profile. for the club. And that's where you could get some time savings rather than doing that, through a spreadsheet or other offline means. And then as you grow even further, your website has more potential to serve your club. Really adding capabilities, as we're showing here in kind of a tiered system, is about serving your organization. You don't want to add anything into the mix without it providing a clear and tangible benefit. So as we get bigger, we can still have all that stuff, but really we'll have full-blown membership management. We'll have payments. We can do more advanced ticketing. We can allow members to start posting their own events. So, for example, if we have a statewide association, we could have a tool that allows our member clubs to post their own events on our statewide website. You can have more ad capabilities. You can sell stuff through your website. And again, all of these come with more overhead. And at this point, you might even be saying to yourself, it's like, all right, we need to focus on our mission. You might even think about hiring a webmaster at this point if you've really got this many people, because we're assuming also when your organization grows, you've got a revenue stream, or you're getting grants or something like that. So you might even think about outsourcing this, because as you grow, I think it becomes, maybe you have somebody in your club or your association that can do this on a volunteer basis, but there's something to be said for consistency in position and focus on this, because your members would rather be out riding and rather be out doing trail work and socializing with other members, not necessarily considering like, all right, I got to be the guy that's beating people over the head for dues all the time. Your website can beat people over the head for dues by pelting them with reminders that they haven't paid the dues, things like that. So the final topic I wanted to discuss, I'm checking the time here. All right, we're on time. Is just some general tips for online activities. To this point, we've been talking about developing a value proposition and how that can lead into a marketing strategy, and then kind of selecting a tool set that we need to operate online. I'm going to get a little bit more general here and just talk about just some tips of the trade, I guess you could say. The first is quality, variety, frequency, and engagement. This is about content, putting content out into the world. If you are marketing yourself online, you need to be creating content. And by content, I mentioned this earlier, we're talking about blog posts, videos, photos, and other material that people want to get. People want to get quality, variety, frequency, and engagement out of your content. This is why people come to your website. This is why people visit your Facebook page. They want to see things going on, and they want to socialize. I mean, that's why it's called social media, because it's become a new place, where the online place where we meet to kind of discuss information and see what's going on. So content is king. That's what we say. That's what we say in marketing. Content is king. So quality content is super important. A user would rather see 1 or 2 high quality videos or photos from an event rather than an album of lower quality content, just people standing around eating lunch or whatever. You might have that content, but you want to feature the stuff that's really high quality, that tops for folks. People actually ride a cool sunset we saw from a Vista, so that people know that, like, oh man, this is why I want to engage with these folks. And then if they want to dig deeper, they can go see the whole photo album from the ride. Everything needs to be visual. I mentioned blog posts. You absolutely have to have photos and videos with your blog posts these days. People won't even look at them if you don't. So you got to have photos, videos, and external links and stories where appropriate. Other people's content is just as good as creating your content. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. And then finally, encourage engagement and discussion on your content. If you watch YouTube videos nowadays, if somebody's talking about a topic in an expert way, they always end the video by asking a question. Blogs do the same thing. So if somebody's putting out a thought piece on, let's just say generically, financing a house. At the end of the post, they're always going to say, what were your difficulties in financing a house, your first house? What things do you wish you had known when you first started looking for financing? Posing these questions gets people to engage with your content, and it gives you a chance to engage with people. So if you post a question and somebody responds, if they're not a member, it gives you a chance to actually have a high quality engagement with them and then recruit them to come into the fold. And engagement snowballs too. So it's like, how do we start building a community is by, just reaching that hand out, and then people will start coming in. Integration and scheduling. And this is a different topic, but I think it's an important one. With the variety of tools that are out there for you to use and engage with online, people find it to be overwhelming. But with a little bit of planning, you can actually cut down your work for yourself a lot. So the big platforms, if you weren't already aware, they have some kind of integration to avoid the need to make multiple posts. So like if you're posting something, a photo on Instagram or a post on Twitter, there's ways to automatically have those linked to Facebook to go to your Facebook page. You can always get your social media feeds on your website, so you don't need to duplicate the content back and forth. Email marketing, like tools like MailChimp, they have ways to automatically turn. So if you send out an email blast to your members, you can have that automatically turn into a blog post through a platform such as WordPress. You can have it create social media hooks for that content. So basically, a lot of people think that if you're going to use multiple channels, that you have to create a different post for each channel. That really isn't the case anymore. And so I'd encourage you to consider integration and invest in integration, and then also scheduling. So if we're talking about our marketing strategy, once we know what content we need to make, I would create a calendar for your content and then schedule it. So what scheduling allows you to do is you can create the content ahead of time and then forget it. So, WordPress, your website, social media such as Facebook and Instagram allows you to set posts to be done in a future date. So on our personal Facebook pages, I don't think it allows it to, but if you have an organization, a group, or a business page, then you can schedule posts. But what this allows you to do is kind of peel off some time, your own personal time, to create 2 or 3 or 4 pieces of content rather than, feeling like you have to do it every week or every day. And you can actually task somebody with building out the content. It's like you have a enthusiastic member, ask them to come up with 4 blog posts for the month, and then you schedule them to come out every Monday. Then once people see a schedule, they will start relying on that schedule. they will start visiting your website on that schedule because they know there's going to be new content for them to read and learn about and engage with. So scheduling content isn't necessarily just about, saving yourself time and hassle and not forgetting to do it, but it's about training your audience to expect high quality content from your organization on a regular basis. Social listening. This is probably a new term for a lot of you, but it's really just the concept that you don't need to create all of your content. Reuse other content with attribution, of course. You might have noticed that NOHVCC has started doing some of this in the last year. These guys engage with all kinds of other national organizations, and sometimes you'll see posts that are coming from Tread Lightly, they're coming from American Trails, that are relevant to NOHVCC's audience of interest. It's a great way to beef up your content with very little effort on your part. All you really need to do is attribute the content to them or link back to their website, to the original message, just to make sure nobody's going to accuse you of stealing their content. And most people actually would encourage that. They want you to engage with their content in this way. Having things shared is a good thing in web marketing. And so I would encourage you to task somebody in your organization to be your social listener. And not that everybody in the organization can't be engaging with other groups, but it's a good thing for somebody to have, for that to be a job for them. And some of the things that they can do is subscribe to Google Alerts through Google News. You can tell it which keywords to search for. You can tell it to pick a geographic area, and it'll send you an email once a day that's just kind of like the top 10 things that meet the search requirements. Following other national and local organizations, we all do this already. There's no reason why we can't be cherry picking the best and most relevant content and sharing that with people in the organization. And I gotta say, share the best. You don't want to be the guy that's just like reposting everything, because not everybody, but it's gonna get to be too much at some point, and it will be redundant for people at some point too. And then engage with other people's content. Like I was saying, you want people to engage with your content. It's kind of a tit for tat when it comes to organizational engagement on web marketing. So if I like American Trails posts and they know, I being NOHVCC, if I'm NOHVCC and I like American Trails posts, they're more likely to like one of my posts. And what that does is expand your sphere of influence. People online will see that organizations are engaging with other people's content, and they'll be more likely to, check out and see what that other organization that they are just learning about is doing. Switching gears one more time. Google ad grants. This is a topic I brought up at the NOHVCC conference this year, and I wanted to bring it up again. It's an easy way to raise awareness about your organization. So registered nonprofits with a website that meets Google's requirements, and these are all online, can register for the ad grant program. And what it does is they give in-kind advertising to your organization. So like in this example here, the ad at the top is for globalgiving.org. So these type of text ads will appear at the top of relevant search results. And if somebody clicks on it and then it ticks down against your $10,000 a month, I know that this exists, and I know that I haven't actually walked anybody through doing it yet, but I would love to talk to somebody if they were interested in doing it about helping you out with it. It's just great way to get exposure in an easy format that people are using. Oh, and all the ads are text-based. They don't do image-based ads. Finally, I wanted to rehash time-saving website tools. We want to work smarter, not harder. We want our website to be a thing that is, if we have our website, let's throw that in there too. We want to have the website working for us, not such that it's a burden on our members or our membership, such that it just gets tossed to the side. Larger organizations should invest in acquiring more website capability, and especially around these tasks: membership management, event management, payments, and storefronts. If you're selling anything, if you're taking payments, not doing it through your website is actually doing your members and your board or whoever is required to management a little bit of a disservice. By linking out to a ticketing tool such as Eventbrite or something like that, it just creates extra steps and puts up barriers for people actually registering for your events or becoming a member or buying something. There are tools available for you, and once you reach these tools have costs, and that's a big consideration. But for your mega organizations out there, your state associations, your mega clubs, I would highly encourage you to consider these things. And you might even consider outsourcing your entire web management capability to stay focused on your mission. There's folks out there, some of you may even have a hired webmaster, but somebody whose job it is, and I mean literal job, to take content unformatted content that you give them, make it look good, get it out on a regular basis. It takes this burden away from you and your members and allows you to focus on your mission and why people join the organization in the first place, to have fun. I seriously doubt there's many webmasters for OHV organizations that joined the OHV organization because they wanted to be a webmaster for an OHV organization. It's kind of something that people are like, yeah, I know how to do that, I'll do it. And then it can wear on people and it kind of be a drag at times. So if it's beginning to be a drag, but you still see the value in it and you need it, consider outsourcing it. And with that, 10 till, I hope it didn't go too far over. That was tips and tricks for web marketing. I know I've thrown a lot on you, and I hope you've been able to take some notes that were to pull out some pearls of wisdom. And does anybody have any questions?
Hey, James. Everyone, this is Dwayne Taylor with NOHVCC. First, while we got you here, James, say thank you for the presentation. Remind everybody, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and type them into the chat feature right now, and we'll make sure we get them asked. We'll also remind everyone that this presentation has been recorded and will be posted on our website. So if you want to review it or share it with others in your club or just others generally, that will be available to you in a relative short term. We try to get them up within a few days, but I think we can probably promise within a week. So you'll have access to this again. And James alluded to this a little bit, but NOHVCC has implemented a lot of what he's discussed today, and we've seen great success. You might, if you're a regular follower of our organization, you'll notice that the overwhelming majority of our content is delivered on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's the schedule he was talking about. There are some exceptions, of course. And we've also, worked really hard to make sure that we not only up what we're sending out, but that we're sending out things that are useful and topical. He's worked through us with a marketing plan, and we've just seen tremendous growth in the number of people who read our articles, open our emails, and start a discussion. We're beginning to see growth in the number of people who are registered for our website and who receive that content. But it's a tougher game, and cross marketing, like he was mentioning with other organizations, is helpful in that regard. So I can't say a lot of what he's talked about really works, and we're really delighted that James has been involved with us and given us the opportunity and the tools we need to help grow NOHVC's online presence. We can obviously do more and do better, and we intend to try. But knowing your audience and delivering content that's tailored to them and delivering it on a scheduled basis works. I can tell you that. We've seen it happen on the back end of our stuff. With that, I'm going to give you a couple more minutes here, maybe if there are any questions. And if not, that's okay too. James threw a lot at us, and it can be overwhelming, but there are always opportunities to ask follow-up questions. If you need to reach out to James directly, you see his contact information there. If you prefer to reach out to NOHVC and let us get in touch with him, or if you have questions for NOHVC staff, the easiest way to reach us all is to email us at trailhead@nohvcc.org, and all of the staff will see it. And yeah, and Laura's posted it in the chat feature now, so you have it there. So if you need to get in touch with us, that's a perfect place to do it. Finally, before we close, I know that NOHVC's chairman of the board, Dan Clean, is on. If he would unmute himself, if he would like to say some closing thoughts. And then if you have any questions or comments, please enter them into the chat feature now. Dan, do you have anything?
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to say thanks again, James, for helping out, and great presentation, and appreciate you taking the time to do that for us, and all the help you give us and the local clubs. We in Iowa have utilized his expertise with the website and made our lives a lot easier. So I would highly recommend contacting James if you need any help with your websites and that. And thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks, Dan. And last thing before we close, James, did you want to say a few words about your new signups and the discount they might receive?
Oh yeah. Thanks, Dwayne, and thanks, Dan. I always appreciate the chance talking to folks. I mentioned at the beginning that I'm a co-founder of RideTrails.org, and what we do at RideTrails, if you don't already know, is we provide free websites to clubs and associations. We started this project a couple years ago, actually out of a NOHVC project, and we realized that some clubs need more assistance. So what we've started to do is we have a free website. It's a basic site with basic capabilities just to get your club online and integrate your social media feeds, get some contact forms, like tell people what you're all about and where you're at, what you're doing. And we have a new service that we started in the fall where we actually will help you with the management of your website. And the costs for that are online. It's a monthly fee, but if you are interested and you need help, we're going to be offering half off for the whole first year. If you're interested, you can sign up online, and then when you're checking out, you can enter the code there, and then it's a little bit of a process to get your site set up, but we work with you to customize it and get it looking good, and then we launch it, and we'll help you manage it throughout the year. So just an offer for you guys, but if you're not interested or you want to go with the free option, we're happy to help you out there too.
Awesome. Thank you, James. And I've seen many of the websites created through RideTrails, and they're excellent. And I can definitely attest, and I think all of NOHVC staff and board can attest to the great level of service and work you get from James. So with that, not seeing any more questions or comments, we'll go ahead and close this webinar. But again, please feel free to reach out to James, go to ridetrails.org, or to reach out to NOHVC staff at trailhead@nohvc.org. Thank you, everyone.